My Music. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here to introduce the teams is Steve Race.
Thank you. My Music is a game played between four experts. On one side we have Frank Muir and David Franklin. On the other side, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. For this first round, 2 marks are available. 1 mark for the title of the piece, another for the composer's name. First job of identification for David Franklin. David.
This is Tchaikovsky Fiddle Concerto.
Yes, well said. Part of the Violin Concerto in D major, Opus 35 by Tchaikovsky. 2 marks out of 2. Dennis, here's yours.
All I connected that with was ice skating.
Yes, it's the right
the free-form solo, whatever, freestyle solo. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm not doing very much better than you are. It was in waltz time,
Yes.
and might have possibly been a valse.
Yes.
It sounded a bit Russian to me.
Now you're on the right track now, yes.
Well, if it's Russian...
Tolstoy.
No, I don't think Tolstoy. Very talented, yes. Waltzes, no.
What other skaters do they?
Yes. I don't think it was the skaters' waltz, no. I think we might got 1 mark for Tchaikovsky again, a sort of double bluff from having heard Tchaikovsky before.
No, even longer name.
Even longer name, like Rimsky-Korsakov, for example.
No, that would be a longer and hyphenated name. No, I can't give you any, can I, for this?
No, I don't think you can.
Shall I give you half a mark for waltz?
Yes.
The waltz from Masquerade by Khachaturian. Your turn, Ian.
Thank you.
Go on. Don't hesitate.
I think we're on rather firmer ground here.
We are.
Yes.
Sure we are.
I think we've got a spot of the Beethovens here.
Yes, there's a mark.
And there was a bit of a piano playing, and I think it might be a piano concerto.
Yes. Now, would you like numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
Well, knowing that this programme on the whole takes the simple way and tries to remove the cruelty from these things, I think that it might be reasonable to suggest number 1.
And for a key, on the same basis?
Well, on the same basis, I would say C major.
You'd be right.
Do you know, there was an interplay going on there that utterly escaped me.
Well, fortunately, it didn't escape me.
I know it didn't, yes.
Piano Concerto number 1 in C major, Opus 15, Beethoven. You have 2 marks. Frank, I think yours is difficult. Let's see how you get on.
stuff going on underneath it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very interesting.
Any ideas? Any idea?
I wouldn't say that mine was entirely blank.
Can I give you a clue? Would you like a heavy clue?
I think so, yes.
Hark!
Hark.
Hark!
It's not Hark, Hark the Lark.
No. Is it the earache symphony?
No.
Sometimes spelt Eroica. Have you got a light clue?
Well, as for the title, you might hear it early in a French work.
Early in the French
Well, you might hear them early in the French work.
Après-midi de faune. It could be the...
No, we're getting further away instead of closer.
It's not a faune dawn. That's very early.
When I said hark, I was referring to Liszt.
A nautical disaster.
And when I again trying to help you, when I said you might hear them early in a French work, Les Préludes by Franz Liszt. No marks, I'm afraid.
Les Préludes.
Now, Liszt, please, to me, because this round is rather different from our usual style, in that I actually want you to interrupt me. I'm going to read a list. As soon as you know what it's a list of, musically speaking, please chime in, and the sooner you interrupt, the more marks you get.
Right, we're ready.
Right, let me just give you a for instance. As a for instance, if I were to begin Suki Tawdry, Jenny Diver, Lottie Lenya, you see, you would interrupt and you would say...
I would say Stop Me Opera.
The Girlfriends of Mac the Knife in the Stop Me Opera, yes, that's right. So, David, interrupt me as soon as you know who are, or were...
Don't worry.
Can I have a buzzer to press?
No, just say oi, would you? Just say oi. Here we go then with your list.
Get your oi ready.
Hans Foltz, Hans Schwarz, Hermann Ortel.
Stop!
Yes, sir.
Cast the Master Singers.
Yes, they are the Master Singers, are they not? I was working my way towards Sixtus Beckmesser, of course, would have been the lowest number of marks. You stopped me at the 3 mark stage, so 3 marks you get. Well done. Wagner's Master Singers. They were actually there in reverse order to their appearance in the cast list. Denis Norden, your turn. Interrupt me when you have the key to this list of shows. See America First, Hichiku of 1919, Greenwich Village Follies of 1924, Paris, 50 Million Frenchmen.
That's Cole Porter's.
Yes.
Cole Porter
Just
must have contributed to them.
No, Cole Porter contributed musicals in order of composition, yes. I was going to add Wake Up and Dream. Well, you get 2 marks there out of the possible 4. Ian, again, chime in, please, as soon as you can. Ready?
Yep.
Coppersmith, Stocking Weaver, Soap Boiler.
Trick question.
A little, yes.
Trick question, because these are also in English, the occupations of the gentleman that David was asked, the Master Singer.
Yes, exactly. Yes, just the same list in reverse order, but of course this time their professions. I was going to end up again with Town Clerk, which of course would have been Beckmesser. So you get Soap Boiler 3 marks there. Frank, this question is based on something of a speciality of yours. What are they? The Archers of Switzerland.
Stop!
You can't know.
It's an everyday story of mountain folk.
Or I'll grant you that.
You can't do it. I can't do it, but they can do it. What? Milk chocolate.
The Archers of Switzerland, Edwin and Angelina, The Deserter, Les Troqueurs, Dardanus, The Magic Flute.
The Magic Flute. They're all operas.
Yes,
except the first 5.
Of which period?
Roughly the same period as the Magic Flute. What's that? 1780. That's late 18th century.
Yes, they're all in fact 18th century operas, and since you're a bit of a specialist on 18th century matters, we thought, until this moment, we thought we'd give you that question. You get 1 because you guessed it on the Magic Flute. Next round. Think of the title, and for 1 mark, tell me simply, please, the mode of transport. David.
Frank said this suggested to him a belly dancer's navel.
Transporting the jewel, is it?
Yes. On the contrary, this suggests to me chemical loos.
Does it really? As a form of transport?
A form of transport.
Yes.
Caravan.
Ah, yes. Yes, all right. Caravan is right. Caravan, Duke Ellington's orchestra. Not playing it there, a famous Ellington piece. Written by his trombonist, Juan Teisel. Denis Norden, again. Mode of transport, please.
I think it's a Burt Bacharach thing, isn't it?
Yes, and you're going to get a third of a mark for each answer.
Oh, yes, then it's trains and boats and planes.
Yes. Trains and boats and planes is right. 3/3 equals 1 mark. Ian, rather an unusual arrangement musically this, but still the same question, what kind of transport?
Very unusual, yes.
Yes, it was the massed bands, pipes and drums of the combined Welsh and Scots Guards, conducted, I think, by Lieutenant Colonel Joe Loss. By the sound of it.
But it certainly brings echoes of a quite different arrangement of something that went on and on and on and on and on
Joe Loss version,
many years ago, called Wheels.
Yes, Wheels is the mode of transport from Wheels Cha-Cha. 1 mark. Frank, your turn.
From the character in Cinderella, Boots.
Yes, and so the transport really would be... walking or...
Would be feet.
Shanks's pony. How right you are. At the end of that round, I glance over at the score, so well kept by Brenda, and I see that Ian Wallace and Denis Norden lead at the moment by 1.5 marks. Did you know that there's an instrument called the humstrum, which I think is rather nice? Well, there is. Did you know that in the Middle Ages you could be sent to prison for picking your rebec in public on a Sunday?
You still can.
Well, you could. This round is all to do with strange musical instruments. So, David, what is a tururi?
The sort of instrument on which in my time I've been known to play tururi bumdier.
That's possible, of course. It's a little bit onomatopoeic.
A little bit onomatopoeic.
Yeah, what kind of an instrument would you say?
Well, this onomatopoeic business, tururi.
Yes,
No, but
yeah, they used to call
no, but
it. No, they used to call it.
Drums would be sort of rat-tat.
Be advised.
All right, I'll be advised. I'm advised that it's something to do with drums. I don't believe it.
No.
We don't believe it.
I was thinking
Tururi.
I was thinking of sort of rooty toot toot and things like that. It's a Brahmin trumpet. And who's to know that? You certainly didn't. No marks. Denis, piatti.
Piatti, spell.
Piatti.
Italian. Yes?
Yes.
Well, if it's Italian, now with words P-I-A, in Italian they put an I where every other language has an L, as in piazza, you see. So that's plati, that's plates. These are the famous Italian musical plates. What you do is you get a plate, and on one plate you put cannelloni, another plate you put spaghetti, and another plate you put lasagna, which gives a different pitch for every plate. You can then play a tune. Sometimes in a big Italian restaurant, you'll see a man coming in bearing a lot of food, and somebody say, look, they're serving our song. It's the Italian musical famous Piatti of Firenze, the Italian musical plate players.
I can only assume that the nearest instrument to a plate
is a cymbal.
Yes. I would have thought so.
Yes. You'd lose all your spaghetti.
Oh, yes. That's no fun at all.
You get 2 marks. We move on to Ian. Becken. B-E-C-K-E-N.
I seem to remember in my very limited study of German that becken meant a symbol.
Yes. Piatti being symbols in Italian, Beckham symbols again, this time in German. So you get 2 marks. Frank, David's was rather difficult in this round, so yours is easy to make up. What's a koto?
A what?
Koto.
It's a Far Eastern word.
Koto, yes.
Is it that when they box with their feet, is it a knockout delivered from the big toe?
It's ingenious to the point of being overwrought almost, isn't it?
Overrun.
I think we should give you a mark for that, however.
No, is it in fact a musical instrument?
Yes. Yes.
Do you pluck it or...
yes, you do.
Attack it or...
You pluck it.
It's a form of... it's a
Japanese...
It's a Far Eastern lyre.
Yes, that'd do very nicely. It's a Japanese zither, actually, with 13 silk strings, I'm assured. And it's a very sweet sounding instrument, as a matter of fact.
They're making out of man-made fibres now.
This round, opera. And for once, very, very easy, I think. Very easy. David, this extract you'll hear is from a very famous Verdi quartet. Listen to a few bars and then tell me who are the 4 characters singing it. Half a mark for the name of each character. And I'm talking about, of course, the names that Verdi gave them.
Reading from top to bottom on the musical page.
Good.
The top part is Gilda, the soprano. Second part is Maddalena, contralto or mezzo. And the third one down is the Duke, who is the tenor.
Of where, please?
The Duke of Mantua.
Thank you, yes.
And the fourth one down is Rigoletto, baritone, and hunchback.
Half a mark for each. Exactly right. If you're interested, the singers were Stefano, Gobbi, Callas and Lazzarini there. You're absolutely right. From Rigoletto, Act 3, 2 marks. Thank you. Half a mark for each name, David. Dennis, in your case, which opera and what are they singing in praise of?
Die Majestät wird anerkannt, wegen sie Land, jubelt mit Champagner, wer ist der genannt? Die Majestät wird anerkannt, wegen sie Land, jubelt mit Champagner,
Well, you know, with opera, if it doesn't go da 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 dee da da, I don't know it. You know, they are definitely singing. But I heard the word excellent.
Yes, people who are singing in praise of something in opera only ever sing in praise of the same thing.
Drink. They put one leg up on a chair and they raise a glass, which is empty and manifestly Fledermaus.
Yes, you've got it. They were singing in praise of wine in the Fledermaus. All right, you've got 2 marks. Ian, which opera and what is the lady singing about?
Das hübsche junge Ding und einen Pinkel Geld dazu. Es müsste so sein.
She was singing about 26 seconds.
Well, she was actually singing about a great deal more than 26 seconds. She was singing of about 15 or 20 years older than she wished she was, being very much in love with a young nobleman whom she feared she might not be able to continue to hold his affection. The Marschallin in Richard Strauss's opera, Der Rosenkavalier, the Knight of the Rose. I can't pass this without mentioning that when this opera was presented many years ago at the Royal Opera House, one of the other characters in it, a character called Baron Ox, was sung with great success by David Franklin. And it might surprise anybody not familiar with this opera to know that this character, it wouldn't surprise you at all that David Franklin would play a nobleman in opera. It goes without saying. But this one was supposed to be coarse and oafish, insensitive, which just shows what a very good actor David could be.
I'll have your bottle of stout ready for you as usual afterwards.
2 marks there for Ian. It was Schwarzkopf, incidentally, singing beautifully there, lamenting her passing youth in Der Rosenkavalier. Frank, who is singing, and in your case, to whom?
What the red-nosed twin. Rudolph is singing. Correction at the last minute. Rudolfo.
Give or take an O.
And
yes,
he's singing
Rudolfo.
to the audience. Standing slightly in the way of that is Mimi.
Yes, he was actually singing straight into the forehead of Mimi at that moment. Yes, you're right. Lovely Maid in the Moonlight. You got 2 marks, Rudolfo and Mimi. Next round concerns creative artists of various kinds, composers, authors, painters, who in certain instances have titles of works in common. For 2 marks, can you tell me, please, David, what is the work in common between Hogarth and Stravinsky?
Rake's Progress.
Yes, Hogarth's paintings, Stravinsky's opera. 2 marks. Dennis, Aristophanes and Vaughan Williams.
Aristophanes, you tell me when I come to an opera. The birds, the frogs, I don't know, there's one. Lysistrata. This is... the clouds. I don't know.
Insects.
The insects.
Stings.
No, that was Karel Čapek. The wasps.
Thank you very much.
I didn't even know he wrote it.
No, it was
or the bees.
It was the Greek play, and he wrote incidental music.
Vaughan Williams and Central Music. You got your 2 marks there. Ian, your turn. Prokofiev and Shakespeare.
Oh, Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Ballet.
Yes. In the whose ballet?
Prokofiev ballet.
Yes, I just thought I'd
Not the bard.
verify it. You know. Frank, Tolstoy and Beethoven.
Oh, neither of them are French. Tolstoy and Beethoven.
Yes. A title of a work in common. No. You don't have any marks.
No, I won't try the Emperor.
The Kreutzer Sonata, which is the title of a story by Tolstoy, novella.
You've got a hope, haven't you? Give him another one. Give him an easier one.
Oh, rubbish. Rubbish. The final round brings, as always, some singing. 3 marks for carrying on successfully with the correct words when the music stops. David Franklin, your song.
Shepherd of the hills, I hear you bawling. Shepherd of the hills.
Well, what's it called?
The Shepherd of the Hills. And I think I can tell you who wrote
actually,
it.
It's called I Hear You Calling.
Wasn't it written by Herman Daruski?
No. Very special story about, I think Dennis knows where and by whom it was written.
Written by Lawrence Wright, wasn't it?
Yes, and the first song to be telephoned across the Atlantic to Jack Hilton, who wrote it down and played it that night in New York. Yeah. It is called Shepherd of the Hills. Shepherd of the Hills, I Hear You Calling. Shepherd of the Hills, When Twilight Falls, and so on.
Of course.
David, I can only give you 1 out of 3. I think even you can't grumble at that. Dennis, your song.
Now I ask you very confidentially, ain't she sweet? Ain't she nice? Look her over once or twice. Now I ask you very confidentially, ain't she nice? Oh me, oh my, ain't she perfection? What have they done to my song, Mark?
Something about a complexion.
Something about a complexion. And so.
We
tailed away, didn't
we
I?
have the most charming audiences in this country. They went wrong with you, so it's not too embarrassing. You should have sung Just Cast an Eye in Her Direction, but you did Oh Me, Oh My in that section, first of all, you know. Don't you think she's kind of neat? Ask her very confidentially, ain't she sweet? 2 out of 3, I think, because you've got about 2/3 of the way through. Ian, let's have a complete song from you.
There's an old-fashioned bedside where she kneels to pray when the toil of the long day is through. Though she wears no fine clothes or no rich silken hose, yet there's something about her divine, for the angels above showed the way how to love to that old-fashioned mother of mine.
I think that must be 3 marks.
I may say my mother is sitting in the audience, and she's reasonably well dressed.
She positively...
Yes, she is.
She shook all over on that top E flat of yours.
Was that what it was? Yeah. I haven't got perfect pitch.
I'm sometimes told that I'm a bit cruel to the young lady who types these scripts, but occasionally mistakes creep in. I was delighted to read here just an old-fashioned lady with old-fashioned ways and a smile that says welcome to you. An old-fashioned bedside where she keels and prays. Old-fashioned mother's ruin. Well, there's a 3-mark song if ever I heard one. Let's see what Frank can do with his song.
It's just a memory among my souvenirs. Some letters tied in blue, a photograph or 2, a rose that came from you among my souvenirs, a few more tokens, it is my treasure chest. And it was the best to give me consolation. I count them all apart, but as the years start, I find a broken
Very mellifluous. 3 marks.
Sorry, I made such a fool of myself.
And they're giving Frank a week to pull himself together. We end My Music. It's a victory by 7.5 marks for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. Goodbye.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason and the programme was produced by Tony Schreier. My Music. A musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here to introduce the teams is Steve Race.
Here's another chance to test your musical knowledge in competition with our 4 panellists, who are themselves in competition, 2 against 2. David Franklin and his colleague Frank Muir versus Ian Wallace, partnered by Denis Norden. First, the Franklin's tale, as usual. Title and composer, please. A mark each, David.
This, I think, was by a composer who used an alias. He was born in a town in Germany called Offenbach.
Do you know, I never knew this.
What?
Great.
Yes, his real name is something like Wiener or Schnitzelheim or something.
Really?
But when he went to France, he called himself Offenbach.
Well.
It is Offenbach, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. That's one mark, yes.
Belle Hélène.
Belle Hélène, yes, that's right. It's the overture. Belle Hélène by Offenbach, 2 marks gets us started. Dennis, what's this and by whom?
To point out the resemblance to Lover Come Back to Me.
Yes, that would do. Yes, that's not interesting, actually. It is similar, isn't it?
Yeah. But other than that, I'm clueless. I haven't the faintest.
I was never on that you should know for a second.
No, I know. It's never expected. It's the first I don't know of the programme. It falls to me to break the ice.
Well, you mentioned rather tactfully, I thought, that you were clueless, Dennis. Perhaps Steve might supply one.
Yes, supply one.
Yes. Would you like a clue to the composer, said he rashly, or to the piece?
I don't, frankly, think it's going to matter.
You don't, actually. It's like throwing a drowning man both ends of the rope, whichever way.
It's the sort of thing you might sing in a boat.
A barcarolle?
Yes, that's a barcarolle.
Is it? I thought it was only one.
Would you like half a mark out of 2, and we'll get on?
It's not the barcarolle that we all know.
No, that would be from Hoffman.
Let's get on, yes.
Barcarolle, June, from The Seasons by Tchaikovsky.
See, we'd only had a go at Tchaikovsky. It's always worth having a go at Tchaikovsky.
Ian, here's one for you.
By the Tiller Girls.
Touch of the French.
Yes.
Bit lucky this for me because I once sang in this.
I thought you danced.
No, I didn't know. No, it was a radio program. This is...
He's the only man who ever sang in an overture.
This is Ambroise Thomas.
Yes.
Mignon, which brings up for me not a painful memory, but we did a live transmission of this opera on the BBC years ago, and the final rehearsal, which is always a very tense thing when you're doing a live performance, because time's running out for the rehearsal anyway, and in the middle of a song that I had to sing in this, I suddenly, I'm afraid, burst out laughing and stopped the whole thing. And the conductor, Stanford Robinson, was very sort of surprised and said, "What are you doing? What are you wasting time?" And I said, "Well, I'm terribly sorry," because it was a very, very sympathetic, quiet piece. And I said, "Well, I'm terribly sorry, but I was supposed to sing there, o'er her brows, their wings extending." It was about angels over this girl. And I'm afraid I sang, "O'er her wings, their brows extending." And it suddenly occurred to me that it would be very painful.
your stories consist of you being browbeaten by Stanford Robinson.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, yes, quite a few of them are.
He's your David Franklin, as you might say, isn't he?
But it has helped me to remember the music.
Yes. Well, you've got 2 marks. Mignon was the overture by, as you so rightly said, Ambroise Thomas. That was what you said, wasn't it?
Yes, or Ambrose Thomas, yes. According to how you
with
feel.
With a chiffon in the middle. Yes. Frank, title and composer, please.
Reminds me, I was standing on a loose floorboard and the conductor, Eric Robinson, said, "Where did you get that vibrato?" And I said, "It's not a vibrato, it's a fishing net." It was on the pier at Bodmin at the time. And that song always brings it back to me because it's the, what did you say it was? The Dancers from Henry VIII.
I think it's Henry VIII German.
By Edward German.
Yes, another composer who changed his name.
Yes, exactly.
Edward German Jones. Edward German's Morris Dancy was
Jim German.
Henry VIII. Yes, you get 2 marks. Now, opera. Quite a lot of operas are named after people. Aida, Don Giovanni, Tristan and Isolde. Musicals.
Cozy Fanny Tuck.
Yeah. Oh, dear old Fanny, yes. Also, musicals named after people like Florodora or Gigi. So, these questions with 1 mark for the name of the hero or heroine after whom the opera is named, and an extra mark for the composer's name. David Franklin, a travelling minstrel who plays with his guzli.
In public?
He prefers it that way.
Oh.
He doesn't do it in private.
This is a Slavonic thing, isn't it? It's a Russian composer.
You're doing well.
It's not Ian's friend Glinka.
No, but...
it's Rimsky-Korsakov.
Yes, marvellous. There's a mark for you.
And it's Sadko.
Wonderful. How do you do it?
Well, because I once had to talk about the opera on a programme.
Yeah. I always think Sadko sounds like a firm of undertakers. There it is, Sadko, S-A-D-K-O by Rimsky-Korsakov. 2 marks. First produced in Moscow 2 years before the turn of the century. A guzli, as you were about to ask me, is a kind of Russian zither.
I wasn't going to ask you. I didn't care.
Dennis, for you, not so much an opera as the musical stage. Can you name, please, an 18th century French character adapted by Lillian for Lenny?
Yes.
Fill us in.
It was called Candide.
Yes.
It was at the Palace over here. It was music by Leonard Bernstein, book by Lillian Hellman, yes. And the lyrics, Dorothy Parker contributed one called What's the Use? Yes. And the rest of them were... There was a marvellous man called John Latouche who wrote 2 other musical comedies which never appeared over here, but he's very, very clever.
And Candide didn't do very well here either.
No, Candide didn't do well here. And it had Ron Moody, much better than I think he was in Oliver, much subtler.
And Max Adrian was in it.
Max Adrian was in it in New York.
Yes, there's your 2 marks. Ian, which is the opera of the downtrodden soldier?
Oh, what a lovely ward. comes from my information service. I would have thought that would be Wozzeck.
You would have been right. Composed by?
Alban Berg.
Yes, 2 marks there. Frank, a lady druid who is no better than she ought to be. If that.
As I said, many lady druids.
Norma.
Written down for you, I think.
Norma.
And the composer, please?
Bellini.
What?
Bellini.
Yes. Norma being a lady druid of the year 50 BC. There's your 2 marks there. Let's see if you can identify a piece of music, a famous song or theme, simply from its first 5 notes. It's nothing like so easy as you might think. Put another way, nothing like so difficult as you might think. Actually, it's fairly difficult, but comparatively easy. Shall we get on with it? And yes. David, what's this and who wrote it?
I should say it's a violin concerto.
Yes, that would be right.
Beethoven?
Quite right, 2 marks. Menuhin playing it. Dennis, which show, which composer?
Is it ba 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 ba? Is that how it goes on? It's a funny name. Well, you know what I mean. I'm not giving you the tune. I'm giving you the rhythm.
Yes, what it said there was take back your
rumba, your samba.
Show and composer.
No, I don't know. It's Betty Garrett sang it originally. Give me the composer.
Well, that's where the mark for a start.
What was the composer?
Harold Rome.
Another assumed name.
Yeah. Almost an anagram of Norma. Yeah. Harold Rome. He wrote Fanny. He wrote Wish You Were Here. He wrote a show called I Can Get It For You Wholesale, in which 2 of the small part characters, one was called Barbara Streisand, the other one was called Elliot Gould.
That's the other mark.
I reckon that's as interesting as anything about Stanford Robinson's going to come up. Now, I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. That was the only hit song from a show called Call Me Mister.
I was going to say Daniel LaRue should have been in it.
Yes, because it was interesting because every other song in the show was about the war, and every sketch was about the war or about people coming out of the army. The only item that really made it was one that had nothing to do with the general theme of the show, which was South America, Take It Away. Yeah.
Well, there we are. That's the song, yes, South America, Take It Away. I can tell the audience you're trailing slightly in marks at the moment, so shall we give him 2 out of 2 for that?
Yeah.
I think so, yes, although I gave you the composer. Fair enough. Ian, every now and then composers dedicate music to someone they know, a friend, a relation, a patron, or perhaps a creditor. Who wrote these 5 notes in honour of whom?
But it certainly wasn't a creditor.
No.
Although I've no doubt a good deal of money has passed in the course of time.
Explain, thank
you.
The
notes are not notes you normally, well, most of them you don't normally find on the piano, because the notes are, in fact, the first 5 would be N, I, C, O, and L.
Yes.
The composer is Steve Race. And the creditor referred to was his daughter, Nicola. And that's why I say that although she's not a creditor, I've no doubt a good deal of money has passed over the years.
Do you know, I begged the producer not to make me put that in the programme. I begged him, but he wouldn't.
But you didn't succeed.
No, I didn't succeed.
Well, I'm delighted you didn't succeed, because it just happens to be one I knew.
Thank you. Yes, my 2, Nicola, dedicated to my daughter. 2 marks you get, at the very least, for that lovely answer. Frank, again, the first 5 notes. Title, please, and who made it a hit on records?
Yes. Dum, 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 dum. 12th Street Rag.
And the record?
It's the clarinet. Pee Wee Hunt.
Yes, I thought you weren't going to get it. Yes, Pee Wee Hunt is right. 2 marks for that. Let's look at the score. And, rather different from last week at the moment, leading by 1.5 marks, David Franklin and Frank Muir. You might call this round the numbers game, for reasons which will become obvious. For 2 marks, David, who were les 6?
Oh. They were composers in France after the First War.
Yes. I'll settle for a couple, because they're quite difficult, these.
Well, there was Honegger.
Yes, oh yes.
Milo.
Yes.
And Poulenc.
Yes, very
who
good.
wrote Mouvement Perpetuel.
Yes.
And Poulenc, who wrote Mouvement Perpetuel.
Yes.
And Poulenc, who wrote Mouvement Perpetuel. Right. And finally, there was Poulenc, who wrote Mouvement Perpetuel.
Right. That's why they called them Les Sept, isn't it? 6 young composers in Paris just after World War I. The ones you didn't mention were Auric, Duret, and
D'Artagnan.
Taillefer.
And do you know, Steve, why I didn't mention them?
Yes. No, go on.
I didn't know them.
They were all incidentally born in the 1890s. 2 marks out of 2, David. Dennis, still with numbers. £35,840 sold 3 million discs. Whose discs and when?
35,840.
£840.
It's going to take me ages. Is it 16 ton?
Yes, 16 tons, yes.
16 ton.
Whose gold disc and when?
Tennessee Ernie Ford. When?
The year? Give or take
Around about the middle of the 50s.
That's right, 1955 in America, 1956 in Britain. 2 marks, well done. Tennessee Ernie Ford's 16 tons. Ian Wallace, who were the 5?
They include Rimsky-Korsakov, I would say,
yes,
and Mussorgsky,
yes,
I would say, and a chap called Balakiev or some such name.
Balakiev, yes.
Balakiev, is it?
Yes.
And there's one that's got a very short name like Coney or something like that.
Cui, C-U-I.
Oh, C-O, even shorter. Yes.
That only leaves one, actually, such is fate.
That wouldn't be Borodin, would it?
Yes, it would. There's your 5, yes. There's your 5. Lovely. Frank, what were the 48, and why particularly 48 of them?
Oh, well, yeah. They were a group of miners who went to California a year before gold was found. They were the 49ers, were the ones who were there on time.
Lovely idea.
What's your story? Hang on. Of course. The other explanation, laughable though it may sound, is that Bach wrote 48 preludes and fugues.
Yes, for well-tempered
spell fugues like that. Watch it.
Could you... That's 1 mark out of 2. Could you give me any idea as to why particularly 48?
Well, he'd written 47. He wanted to write 1 more. The whole thing was called the well-tempered clavichord, as you know full well, Steve.
Well, I didn't put
these questions.
Except I just said clavier.
The whole cycle of keys.
It was going round. It was cycling round the keys.
Yes, the correct answer is impossibly long to describe. There were 2 books of 24 preludes and fugues in each of the major and minor keys for a particular reason. He wanted to demonstrate something about equal temperament, a method of tuning. Opera. My career in opera, gentlemen, was rather brief. It was limited to 1 performance of HMS Pinafore at school, in which I played the not unimportant role of the 4th sailor from the left. Just to prove that some quite important music is sung at one time or another by members of the opera chorus. And here are some examples of other opera choruses. For a mark, what sort of people are singing? Are they, for example, farmers, glassblowers, fishermen, students, or what? David, what calling or profession do these follow?
Priests.
They are in the magic flute. 1 mark out of 1. Thank you.
One night at Glyndebourne before the war, one of them was stoned. He'd been out to a party.
Oh, I thought you meant by the audience.
No. No, he came on. The booze was trickling out of his ears. And his friends very loyally walked very close to him to bring him onto the stage. And for this, they sing in the temple, they propped him up against a pillar. And he's sort of weaving faintly as he didn't try to sing. He lasted out that chorus. It lasted about 3 minutes. And just as the curtain came down, he fell flat on his face in front of me. Marvellous moment.
You've never done it again, though.
I was the high priest, the sergeant major.
Dennis, what have these people in common?
tell you about my career in opera. This is equally true. I was assistant manager of the Trocadero Elephant and Castle, and we put on an opera. We put on an opera one week, and we put on a circus the following week. We had a very busy Sunday, that Sunday, and it was the one, I can't tell you what the opera was, it's the one where they have a lot of monks walking along with their heads bowed like that, and a bell is tolling. And we wanted to make it a big production, but we didn't want to engage a lot of singers. So I got the ice cream girls and the usherettes and the stagehands, because they all look the same. They've all got those cowls over their head. And we had the monks' chorus with ice cream girls walking along. That's about as much as I can contribute in the way of an answer to that. What those people had in common...
Stop me and save one.
Yeah.
They were all guests, the entry of the guests from Tannhäuser.
Oh.
No marks, I'm afraid, despite your nice story about the cinema. Ian, who are these?
Well, they rather are kindly enough to give it away, really, with all those tarantaras.
Yes.
Huntsman
from
Der Freischütz.
Freischütz, that's right, Weber's opera. 1 mark, yes. Frank, who are these?
I was saying to David, my experience is if Dennis's were guests and they had nothing in common. But this lot were soldiers.
Yes, from... Do you happen to know?
From the barracks. They'd... They were Trovatori.
Yes, they were all foundlings. Yeah. No, they were soldiers from the Verdi barracks, you're right, from Il Trovatore. Leading by a mere half mark at the moment, David Franklin and Frank Muir. This round is all about musical films. I'll tell you the year and the stars. You tell me, for 2 marks, please, just the name of the film. David Franklin, 1948, with Anton Walbrook, Marius Goring, and Moira Shearer.
Stop!
That was last
Red
week.
shoes in the sunset. Red shoes.
The Red Shoes for 2 marks. Dennis, 1945, with Stuart Granger, Phyllis Calvert, and Jean Kent.
No, it wasn't called Paganini. It was called The Magic Bow.
The Magic Bow. It was the story of Paganini. That's right. For 2 marks. Ian, 1951, with Moira Shearer, Ludmilla Cherina, and Pamela Brown. And others.
Of course, you're saying Moira Shearer, and you think immediately of Red Shoes, which is gone.
Yes. Ludmilla Cherina was notable in this, and I think Robert Helpman, surely. Certainly Pamela Brown.
Well, ballet, obviously, yes. Must be.
Was the Tales of Hoffman?
Tales...
Was it part of their Red Shoes? Tales of Hoffman? I don't know. I thought it was the Tales of Hoffman.
Would anybody like to say, what do you think it is?
I thought it was the Tales of Hoffman.
You're right.
Oh.
Don't mutter it to him.
No.
Say it to me. Well, yes, you're right. 2 marks there, Tales of Hoffman. Frank, 1944, with Van Johnson, June Allison, and Gloria de Haven. Also, Jose Iturbi.
Oh. 2 girls and something like that.
Yes, that's right. 2 girls and how would you describe Van Johnson, or shall I phrase it some other way?
2 girls and a fella. 2 girls and a man.
Well, I think I'll give it 2 girls and a sailor, actually. 2 girls and a sailor.
That's even better.
Should we make it 1.5 out of 2? Because you did, after all, miss a word. Yes, 1.5 out of 2.
Yes, all right then.
Because that may even bring you even. We'll see in a minute. Last round, in which the members of the teams try to earn a maximum of 3 marks by carrying on in words and music from where the piano ends. A song from David Franklin.
The hours I spent with thee, dear heart,
A brave try.
are as a string of pearls to me. I count them over, every one apart.
Should we stop him?
When you played the organ and I sang the rosary.
You've got the title line. You should have gone on. Life was even sweeter than that mellow melody. But 1 out of 3 anyway. Fair enough there, I think. Dennis, there's a rather different kind of song for you. Let's see how you get on with this.
Missed it. You could see what I can see when I'm cleaning window. When I'm cleaning window. Well, it's somewhere in there. A honeymooning couple too. You should see them bill and coo. You'd be surprised at things they do. When I'm cleaning windows, in my profession I work hard and I'll never stop. I'll climb this blinking ladder till I get right to the top. Ladies' nighties I have spied, pajamas lying by the sun. Oh, I'm losing when I'm cleaning windows. Well, it does take it out of me. I hate that.
Dennis would be marvellous to be the voiceover for a singing ant.
Anyway, that's 3 out of 3 if ever I heard it. Ian, your song.
They say it beats the band, pa-pa-bum-pum-pum, the way he handles the men is grand. When I shout, birds fly out, daisies fade. I've a way that must be obeyed. NCOs say I bite while recruits die of fright. When the sergeant major's on parade.
Is there a gasket in the house?
I didn't know whether you were luring me to my doom, suggesting I should take the top note there.
It could have been another Cicely Courtney.
May yet be. A song from Frank Muir.
He may be a great big general, he may be a sergeant major, he may be a simple private in the line, but there's something about his bearing, there's something in what he's wearing, there's something about his buttons that shine. Oh, a military just seems to suit the ladies best. There's something about the soldiers that is fine.
There it is. That's the end, I'm sorry to say, of another My Music. A victory by 2 marks for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. Goodbye.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason and the programme was produced by Tony Schreier.
The BBC presents My Music, a musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the teams.
Here's another edition of My Music with the same 4 eager contestants. Frank Muir and David Franklin competing in musical knowledge against Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. We begin, it seems a good idea, with a round of prologues, overtures, preludes. starters, in fact. Your starter for 2, in other words, a mark each. Who's the composer and what's the title? David Franklin.
This is, of course, not Bach, as I've just heard it suggested. This is a sort of swan song.
Yes, that's very clever of you.
Yes, it's the prelude to Act 3 of Lohengrin by Wagner.
Yes, quite right. 2 marks. First heard in 1850. Piece of music, again, please. Title and composer, Denis Norden.
Do you want help? If an overture doesn't go diddy-bum, 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 bum, bum, there might as well be an underpass. It's fine. I know Jimmy Edwards uses it in his act.
I can tell you, it was written by a Dalmatian. Does that help you?
You mean somebody from Dalmatia?
Really? Well, he was born in Dalmatia.
Born in Dalmatia. Was Soupe born in Dalmatia?
Oh, yes. Yes. You have a mark for your side.
Hoagie van Soupe.
Well, we might...
Title of the piece? He was an overture.
Yeah. Shot a bit of the light cavalry.
No, it's morning, noon and night in Vienna. Ian, your turn. Sudden end.
Beethoven.
Yes, 1 mark.
The opera Fidelio.
Yes, quite right. The overture to There Too. 2 marks for Ian Wallace. Frank Muir's turn.
Very unfair. I knew the other 3.
I
didn't know the names or who wrote them, but I knew the music. But this is definitely Dante Gabriel Rossini.
I'll take Rossini, yes.
It's Rossini, and there's a little worried here as to quite which piece, which work. It's an opera, we feel.
Yeah, which an overture there too.
Overture thereof.
Yes. Try the Italian woman in Algiers.
I'd love to.
Say it louder and you might get a
Italian woman in Algiers.
Yes, I would say the Italian girl in Algiers is what I have down here.
I think of a more mature singer. She was fair, fat and forte.
I think we give you that, audience, don't we? 2 marks.
Well done, lad.
Some odds and ends of musical information now. David, I have a record at home of Mrs. Legg singing an ichthyological song written by a torchbearer at Beethoven's funeral. Can you explain, please, for 2 marks?
This is Mrs. Walter Legg.
Mrs. Walter Legg, yes.
Who is Elizabeth Schwarzkopf.
Yes.
Is she singing Die Forelle by Schubert?
Yes, or in English, the
Trout.
The Trout, that's ichthyological. Very good, David. There's your 2 marks.
You're having a good week, lad. Keep it up.
Schwarzkopf, Mrs. Walter Legg, singing The Trout by Schubert. Dennis, which musical instrument involves the use of a length of Eustachian tube?
Well, you think I don't know what the Eustachian tube is?
That's what I think, yes.
It's the tube at Euston Station.
Can you leave?
It's actually, if you've ever, like I had an infection of the upper respiratory tract.
Ah, you got it.
Oh, that's bad. It's something, I don't know, somewhere around between the back of your throat and your ear. So I should think that the instrument would be
The human voice. You hear the human voice at Euston Station after international rugby matches.
Yes. Human voice is right. 2 marks. The eustachian tubes are actually between the pharynx and the ear. Ian.
Change at Reading.
Ian, imagine yourself giving a recital. If you were singing Scotland the Brave in Highland dress, where would your tessitura be?
Well, I would say it was well polished. But his tessitura would have nothing to do with his sporran or even his dirk. But the actual level at which he was singing, in other words, the general level of the voice would be...
It's the lie of a song within its vocal range. Yes, how true, and thank you for 2 marks. Frank, your partner, David Franklin, wrote his autobiography under the title Basso Cantante. Without reference to him, please, can you tell me what that means literally and what it means in practice? Now, he's not to help you at all on this. Yes.
Basso means low down.
Bass.
And
well, yes, go on.
Tante is the French for armed. Can is half of the can. All this is getting very murky indeed. Something about some low-down dancing of half the can by your aunt. Or is that the plot of the book?
Literally, basso cantante means singing bass cantabile style, the basic equivalent of a lyric soprano, says a reference book, not basso profundo or dramatic bass. Next round and 3 marks coming up, the singer, the title, the composer. And in your case, David, I happen to know that the singer was a friend of yours. So, singer, title, composer, please, of this.
The singer is unmistakable, Heddle Nash.
Yes, a mark there.
The song, I don't know the title. I think it's by somebody who wrote a lot of songs, but it's out of the general run of song composers.
Yes,
it's
and not Hugo Wolf. Liszt is right, yes,
it's
that's
Liszt.
Right. Liszt. Shall we give you 2 out of 3, or do you want to fight for the 3rd?
What were the words that he sang?
The title of the the title of the song.
Oh, yes, well, I was actually talking to my friend when it happened.
He's giving me the publisher and the price of the book, if you must.
Well, it cost you a mark, David. You did very well. Now, Heddle Nash it was, Liszt the composer, the title O Quand je dors, or O When I Sleep. 2 out of 3. Dennis, in your case, singer, title, and the author of the words, please. There's a lot of writing going on.
Yes, there is. Ye banks ampersand braes, oh, Boony Doon. Oh, sorry. Bonnie Doon.
I can't believe that even with your sheltered life you need to have that written down.
No, I know. Ye B&B or BD. Burns.
Yes.
And it's sung by Kathleen Ferrier. I have it on the best possible authority.
Yes, and it all came from Ian Wallace, who now has a chance to get 3 marks of his own. Ian. Singer, title, and composer, please, of this.
Well, I don't know what the title of the song is in German, but I would say it was None But the Lonely Heart.
Yes.
By Tchaikovsky.
Yes.
And I would have thought it was sung by Mrs. Legge.
Yes, Mrs. Legge again. Namely, as we established,
Elizabeth Schwarzkopf.
3 marks there. Frank. No help.
I got that with no help.
Good, well done. You haven't said it yet.
It's songs my mummy taught me, and it's by Wojciech.
Yes.
And it was featured in the musical comedy about some of his life.
Yes. And the singer, please.
It was a lady. I established that... is it Joan Hammond?
No. A fair guess, but it wasn't. It was Vittorio de Los Angeles. 2 out of 3. This is a round concerning opera plots and characters, and there's some pretty weird things happen in the world of opera, plot-wise. For example, David, in which opera does the hero examine his wife's clothing bills, forbid her to go to the theatre, and receive in return a violent blow?
Don Pasquale.
Yes. That's the answer for a mark. Composed by, you happen to know, Donizetti. It's in Act 3, Scene 1. 1 mark only, 1 out of 1. Fair enough. Dennis, in which opera does the hero hide from a pistol in a basket?
I am not waving, I am drowning. Yes, of course. Falstaff. Yes, pistols.
I thought you'd know that from just pistol. You're the literary guy, aren't you? Star of My Word and other stories.
Well, it could have been The Merry Wives of Windsor, couldn't it? Right?
Yes, it could.
Right.
By Nicolai. This is Falstaff by Verdi. He hides from the character, pistol. Act 2, Scene 2. 1 mark. Ian Wallace, in which opera does the heroine repeatedly recite her name and age? And I think Dennis may know this. That's something. You never heard me say
surprisingly enough, I know it.
Do you?
I say surprisingly because all opera singers tend to know nothing about the operas that they've not sung in themselves. And I haven't sung in this one, but I have seen it, and that is The Consul by Menotti.
Yes.
And
do you remember the name and the age?
Yes, she says she's keeping on being asked to fill up a form with all her details, and she says, does she say, my name is woman, my age is young, my hair is grey, and my eyes are for weeping, something like that.
I don't know if she does, but what she does sing repeatedly is name Magda Sorel, yes. Age 33.
Yes.
1 out of 1, fair enough. Frank, in which opera does the heroine, having been rescued from a stag, dream of her luxurious origins?
Stag? Is it Rotterdam? Saved in what way from a stag? Was she going to be antlered?
Well, I wouldn't work on that. I would work, if I were you, on her luxurious origins. Now, I dreamt of her luxurious origins. It couldn't be easier.
I dreamt that I dwelt in marble halls.
Yes. Which opera then?
Hanging Down.
Bohemian Girl.
The Bohemian Girl.
Yes, the composer being...
Yes. Benedict. Arnold Benedict.
No.
No.
I get this every 2 years in my music, and I never know the man's name.
Irishman.
How you can be so inefficient during my question.
Irishman. It doesn't matter. You've got your mark anyway. Balfe. Michael Balfe.
No.
And the score, just for instance, leading at the moment by 1 solitary mark, Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. Here are some musical terms or expressions. David, in the terms of my music, what is an oleo?
I've no idea.
Would you like me to spell it? No, won't help.
O-L-I-O.
Yes. Very good. 2 marks. No, I can't give any for that. It's quite interesting, actually. In the dictionary, an oleo, O-L-I-O, is a medley, farrago, or miscellany, a musical entertainment popular in Victorian times of widely varied music, or a musical entertainment given by the cast after a play, perhaps impromptu or unrehearsed. Derivation is from the Spanish olla, a stew. Anyway, I have a reproduction here of a bill for a grand musical oleo at the Town Hall, Hartlepool, on Thursday, April the 20th, many, many years ago. And it's a rather nice old bill, so there's musical oleo for you. No marks.
Also, the old American vaudeville term for the iron safety curtain was known as the oleo, where they used to put the advertisements on.
Well, there you are, grand musical oleo. Dennis, your turn. What is a riff?
Musically, it's one of the chorus of the Desert Song. Or in jazz,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it an individual variation on one instrument of the main theme?
No.
Or maybe it's half a duet between a riff and a rap.
I'd like to give you a mark for saying it's a member of the chorus of the Desert Song. I think 1 mark out of 2 would be all right for that. It's a repeated short phrase in jazz, especially during the swing period of jazz. A good example is the tune Opus 1. Do you remember?
But didn't they used to say
over and over again.
take a riff?
Yes, meaning a little phrase which I will play, and then you repeat it with me.
Oh, I see.
Essentially, it's a repeated phrase, short phrase. Woodchopper's Ball is another example of a riff turned into a whole composition. Well, 1 out of 2, and I think you're lucky there. Ian, David's question was about a musical oleo, if you remember. I showed this poster of an oleo held many years ago in England, and there's a reference on this bill to Arthur Nelson, the merry musical momus, which means clown, who will introduce the rock harmonicon. What was the rock harmonicon?
Presumably it must have been a harmonicon made of rocks.
That's a good start.
And,
not much of a finish, but it's a good start.
And it takes one back to that story of Neville Cardus, the music critic. When he was a very young man, he went to the music halls in Manchester and he went to see some act with the mechanical organ, Mr. So-and-so and his mechanical organ. He went and he said, Mr. So-and-so appeared with his mechanical organ. It weighs 5 tons. And that was all he put. And Mr. So-and-so was very angry and rang up the editor and said, "Who's that young lad you sent to the theatre, to the newspapers, and insulted my act by stating that?" So the editor found out that it was young Cardus and sent him back the next time Mr. So-and-so came to the city, which was a year later, and he said, "Mr. So-and-so appeared with his mechanical organ, which I saw last year. It still weighs 5 tons." But, I imagine that this is some form of harmonica, and other than one that you would blow through, because you could hardly blow through something made of rocks.
You could walk through it, actually.
One could understand it much more in modern times as being a harmonicon that accompanied rock music.
I let all the notes go all the way through.
It's sort of Henry Moore.
It's a sculpted harmonic.
If you insist on relating it to harmonica, then you need the old sense of harmonica musically, not the modern.
Yes, not the modern blower.
I don't think you know, do you?
Well,
really,
I have
Ian?
a feeling that the rocks were something to do with how the notes were resonated. So I believe I believe I'm right in saying that
Simpler.
in that family of harmonicons, the most famous one was Franklin's harmonicon.
It's really simpler than all this. It was a kind of stone xylophone, the way we would describe it. Simply, stones graduated into notes and struck with hammers. There was one in the Lake District that belonged to Ruskin, the poet and art critic.
I think he probably must have inherited it from Hereward the Wake.
Anyway, that's the rock harmonicon, so don't knock the rock, doesn't apply to the rock harmonicon. I really can't give you any marks, I think, for that, can I?
No, I would
Fair
accept
enough.
that.
You were leading anyway, you see, so I was trying to even things up.
Quite happy.
I'll be winning now. Can we rest?
Frank, what's a counter-tenor?
I don't know whether you saw the musical of Kipps. The story of a shop assistant.
Yes.
Called Half a Sixpence. But there he was, behind the ribbon counter, singing, "Half a sixpence." That's a counter-tenor. No, I must be serious. Yeah. A counter-tenor is a high tenor, higher than one would normally expect from a tenor, unless he was standing on a loose floorboard or his woolen bathing costume had shrunk.
Shall we leave it there and call him a male alto?
It could be a soprano with a throat infection. Male alto, yes, it's the unique kind of voice.
2 marks. 2 marks it is. In this last and most musical of all the rounds, the contestants have to sing. 3 marks if they carry on with words and music when the piano stops. David, a song.
wouldn't like a little number called When You and I Were 59. When you and I were 17, such a long time ago. When you and I were 17, it made just 34.
One mark for arithmetic.
Yes, and half a mark for the song. 1.5 out of 3, because the words left something to be desired, all about golden spring when you were king and I your wonderful queen.
But it was neat.
It was 1.5 for neatness.
Sing that to me, wasn't it?
1.5 altogether. Dennis, your song.
No one to talk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving. I'm saving my love for you. But near enough, I know for certain. The one I love, I'm through with flirting. It's just you I'm dreaming of. Ain't misbehaving. I'm saving my love for you.
That lovely riff in the middle. So, yes, fair enough. 3 there. Ian, your turn.
Oh, who will up and follow me to win a blooming bride? Her father, he has locked the door. Her mother keeps the key. But neither doors nor bolts will bar my own true love from me. I promised her to come at night with comrades brave and true, a gallant band with sword in hand to break her prison through. Break her prison through. Wait a minute, no, we're all right. I promised her to come at night. She's waiting for me now. And ere the dawn of morning light, I'll set my true love free. And ere the dawn of morning light, we'll share our morning tea. Is that more than you'd got down on your card?
What a good thing there wasn't a third act in that opera.
Well, there is a third verse, but I left it.
Dirty, yeah.
Oh, that was the school glee club we used to have together.
It must have been. 3 marks there. Frank, for you, the end of Prohibition.
Back to the life worth living, back to those happy days, and we knew the joy of giving, we knew the terror of love,
We've had our
troubles. This is your hunch today, champagne for lunch today. This is a happy, happy day.
There it is. That's the end, I'm sorry to say, of another My Music. A victory for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. Goodbye.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier. The BBC presents My Music, a musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the team.
Here's another edition of My Music with the same 4 eager contestants. Frank Muir and David Franklin competing in musical knowledge against Denis Norden and Ian Wallace. You'll know these 4 opening bits of music, gentlemen. The point is, will you know who composed them and what they're called? A mark for the composer, another mark for the title. David Franklin first.
This is 19th century?
Yes. It's a composer who may not have been mentioned in this series heretofore, certainly not very often. I don't recollect his being mentioned before.
It's not German?
No. No.
French?
Yes.
Well, it's not Berlioz?
No. Later.
You don't mean Saint-Saëns?
No. A little earlier, I think.
A little earlier than Saint-Saëns?
Yes. It is difficult, this, so I'll tell you, it's the only symphony he wrote. Big symphony.
The Symphony Number 1.
Bizet?
No, I don't think we can go on anymore. You're doing terribly well, but you just haven't got it, I'm afraid. So I can't give any marks.
Let's cut out the compliments. How many marks do I get?
None. It's the Symphony in D minor, the first movement by César Franck. 1822 to 1890. Dennis, see how you get on.
Well, I knew if I waited 4 years, something would come up. That's the William Tell Overture by William Tell.
Well, that's rotten. I had a clue already for you. I was going to say the Big Apple.
by Rossini.
Yes. Ian, a string tremolando and then into yours.
The composer is Grieg.
Grieg is right, yes.
And I think it is Piano Concerto.
Yes, part of the Piano Concerto, A minor. 2 marks to Ian Wallace. Frank, 2 famous... Two famous composers had a hand in yours, Frank. What? Who it is?
Gilbert and Sullivan. Rimsky and Korsakov.
No. Actually, no.
Warmish.
Yeah, well, yes, right nationality.
Well, try Mussorgsky.
Mussorgsky.
Yes, you were getting better now. Yes.
Dirty pictures and a dusty gallery.
Did Mussorgsky score the pictures in the exhibition himself, or was it scored by somebody else?
Scored later, I'll tell you, by Ravel.
By somebody else.
No, Maurice Ravel did the scoring. You've got Mussorgsky a mark. You're muttering pictures from an exhibition without actually saying it. Which picture, please? Do you know?
Oh, well, it's that big one in the corner.
I'll give you a clue. Chicken and garlic.
Chicken? Oh, it's the picture of Kiev.
Yeah, that's right. The Great Gate at Kiev. General knowledge within the musical field now. David, the first modern revival of a certain opera was in the composer's native Bergamo in 1956. Visconti's production at La Scala took place the following year with Callas. Since then, the opera has been performed at Glyndebourne and Dusseldorf, among other places. Which opera and who composed it, please?
I've seen this. She's one of 8, isn't she's one of 6,
Yeah,
isn't
you've
she?
got it, yes.
Yes, it's
Second.
Anna Bolena.
Anna Bolena.
By Donizetti.
It's the story of Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII. Yes, absolutely right. The opera Anna Bolena by Donizetti. 2 marks, David. Well done.
Oh, Anne Boleyn.
Denis
The wife of Enrico Otto.
They don't even think that's funny on Italian radio.
I think it's funny on English radio.
Dennis, pop music for you, and this is also a 2-part question. Where are the acknowledged homes of country and western music, and secondly, Tamla Motown? I want the city and the state, please, in each case. Country and western, Tamla Motown.
Well, country and western is the home of Annabelle Lee in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
And Tamla Motown is Detroit, Michigan.
Motown, of course, because the Motor Town.
Motor Town.
That's right. Yes, Detroit, Michigan is right. Nashville, Tennessee. 2 marks. Ian, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Beethoven's Triple Concerto was recorded by Richter, Rostropovich, Karajan and Oistrakh. 4 magnificent musicians. Who did what? Richter, Rostropovich, Karajan, Oistrakh.
Well, presumably, Rostropovich must have played the cello.
Yes.
And Oistrakh must have played the violin.
Yes.
And Richter must have played the piano.
Yes. And as it was a triple concerto, what does that mean, Karajan?
Well, it means that there must have been an orchestra as well.
Yes.
And that Karajan conducted it.
4 times half a mark equals 2 marks. Thank you, Ian. Frank, Hawk, Lady Day, Mugsy and Bird. What were their proper names?
Who?
Hawk.
Hawk.
Yes. Lady Day, Mugsy, Bird.
Lady Mugsy, Bird. Bird was Charlie Parker.
Yes. They're
Jazz
all...
musician. Mugsy was
musicians.
Mugsy Spanier.
Yes.
Lady Day I've never heard of.
Lady Day.
Lady Day. I've written Lady Dog. But no.
That's right.
And Hawk, presumably is Coleman Hawkins, although I've never heard
Yes.
it.
I thought you could work out Lady Day.
Not Doris. Thank heavens.
Far from it. Far from it. Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday.
Singer, Lady Day. That's 1.5 marks out of 2 for you. Well done, all the same. They're all jazz musicians. The subject now is opera. We're going to hear some bits of operatic music. I want the name of the character in the opera and the name of the opera itself. David Franklin first, the character and the opera, please.
Quanto bella quanto è cara, che più la vedo e più mi piace, ma in quel cuore non sono capace, lieve affetto di
This is Donizetti.
Yes, that's right. So, it's the one thing I didn't ask for, actually. Character and opera. But it is a Donizetti opera, yes.
Is it L'Elysia?
Yes, yes.
What was the chap's name?
L'Elysia d'Amore.
What? Yes, it's an aria sung by Sid. He sings it to his friend Fred.
Yes.
In L'Elysia d'Amore.
And he came from Adina. Sid did. I can't tell you anymore.
I didn't catch it, Ian.
You know Ian?
Oh, yes.
Very kind of you.
Nem something.
Yeah.
Nemorio?
Not quite, no. I think you have the one for L'Elysia d'Amore. Nemorino of Adina was the singer in...
Don't I get one for Donizetti?
No, I didn't ask for the composer.
Can I have him back?
You'll have 1 out of 2. Dennis, here's one for you.
T'anneste la promessa la sfida ebbe luogo. Il barone fu ferito, però migliora. Alfredo è un strano suono.
Rudolph La Boheme. No, I don't think that counts because she was just talking. That was like Ted Lewis. It was Italian, yes.
Did you hear my song?
Mio canzone. Io non conosco.
Hear
oh yes,
my
here we are.
song.
It's either Traviata from Violetta or it's Violetta from Traviata. And I'm gonna back it both ways.
Yes, I mean, with only 2 runs, we could have the forecast.
Actually, Violetta came in by a shorthand. Violetta singing in La Traviata. You or somebody or other's got 2 marks. That's right. Ian, 2 characters sing yours. Who are they and what's the opera called?
And bubble, how I am troubled and boozled and big, my distresses are double. And bubble, how I am troubled and boozled and big, my distresses are double. When you come to the tree, should the hangman refuse, these fingers with pleasure would fasten the noose. When you come to the tree, should the hangman refuse, these fingers with pleasure could fasten the noose. And bubble, how I am troubled and boozled and big, my distresses are double. And bubble, how I am troubled and boozled and big, my distresses are double.
I suppose with all that bubbling, you could almost say it was Polly put the kettle on.
Yes.
But it's Polly and Lucy.
Yes. Can you give me their full names, please? Polly...
Well, it's not Polly Perkins of Paddington Green. Polly Peachum.
Yes,
and Lucy Lockett.
Yes, that's right.
And this is from the Beggar's Opera.
2 marks, thank you. Frank, yours.
We have sung this, of course. Glyndebourne.
You may have done
some
that.
of us.
I haven't.
No. Well, none of us have sung this, but we do know it between us. O Star of Eve.
What I asked for was the character...
The public house in the... it's Wolfram.
Yes, thank you.
Wolfram.
Singing in...
From Tannhäuser.
Yes, thank you. There's your second
by
mark.
Wagner.
Yes. And it comes in Act 3. You have got your 2 marks. Let's have a look at the score, if Valerie can work it out. Rather a large difference here. Ian Wallace and Denis Norden leading at the moment by 3.5 marks. Next, a round of questions that are based on well-known songs. If you can give the answer in song, so much the better. In fact, you get an extra 3rd mark if you answer in song. David, when they were dispossessed from the Garden of Eden, where did Adam and Eve resume gardening? Remember, answer in song if you can. When they were dispossessed from the Garden of Eden, where did Adam and Eve resume gardening?
We saw in Sussex, or it's one of those. We constituted the garden and a plant. You know, it's a cider.
Yes.
Never.
Glorious Devon.
Thank you very much. They founded another one down in the west. It was Devon, Glorious Devon. You sang it, you have 3 marks. Dennis, sing yours too. That's a laugh, isn't it, for a start?
I don't know why.
Dennis, your question. Where did you see Laura and what did she give you?
Right. And I saw Laura on a train that was passing through.
Thank you. She gave...
Your very first kiss to you. That wasn't so bad, was it?
No, very good. I've always reckoned that you were the most underestimated singer on the air, Dennis.
I'm what's known as a basso can't hardly.
3 marks. Ian, sing your answer too, please. Where will I do my bit and be full of grit?
Oh,
this thing, you know.
It's
Sing it.
Ah, da, 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 do
with the
my
words,
goodbye. No,
On the sands.
That's the gritty bit.
Yeah.
But I can't bring in the bit that talks about the grit. Don't think the bit. Don't.
Perhaps you should be the most underestimated singer in Britain. In some Abyssinian French dominion, I will do my bit, and so on. Where the desert sand is nice and handy, I'll be full of grit from White Horse Inn. I think 2 out of 3.
Oh, yes, I would...
Especially since you were leading up to that point. Frank, what did who make for whom, right, where, on what?
Heaven for me.
Yes.
Right here.
Yes.
Yes.
3 marks.
Heaven is sky.
You made a heaven for me right here on earth from Sonny Boy. 3 marks. Shut up, Frank.
Can I suggest, without any animus, can I suggest that Frank is the most overestimated singer on the air?
Yes, that may well be so. May well be so.
I think that's carrying.
Songs from the shows. And I can tell you, they spread over something like 50 years of the musical theatre.
Don't we all? Some spread thinner than others.
Some of us not for another 3 months. Never mind. David, the name of the show, please, and the composer's name.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a.
George Guitare, Vivian Ellis.
Show composer.
Bless the Bride, Vivian Ellis.
Thank you. Yes, 2 marks out of 2. Dennis. Dennis, again, please. Show and composer.
It's nice and warm, I think that we shall have a lovely day. Very, very warm for me. It is a shame they say just present in fall, but looks as though the sun's really come to stay. Oh, what very charming weather.
The Arcadians,
yes.
Lionel Monkton.
Yes, what a very charming show, too. That's 2 marks. Ian, from you, and from Frank in a moment, I want, please, the show and the date of the first Broadway production.
We open in Venice, we next play Verona, then on to Cremona. Lots of bars in Cremona. Our next job is Parma, that fearless, cheerless Venice. Then Mantua, then we open again. Where?
Show.
Taming of the Shrew.
Or
Kiss Me Kate.
Kiss Me Kate, yes. First Broadway production.
Yeah. Oh, that's somewhere round about 1949.
I think it's near enough. 1948. Yes. 2 marks. And we'll give Frank 1 either way, too. Frank, again, please. Show title and date of first Broadway production.
Could it be? Yes, it could. Something's coming, something good. Different way. Something's coming, I don't know what it is, but it is gonna be great.
West Side Story,
Yes.
Leonard Bernstein.
Yes, the year of the first Broadway production.
1958.
1 out. 1957. You get your 2 marks.
Oh.
Very good. We come to the last round, in which nearly everybody gets full marks. Well, we'll see anyway. The poet Leigh Hunt once wrote, "When high the human voice is raised, how low my spirits fall." The raised voices.
Oxford Book of Quotations.
Actually, I made it up, but never mind.
It'll be in the next edition of the Oxford Book of Quotations.
The raised voices of Franklin, Norden, Wallace and Muir, as we ask them to complete the song when the piano stops. 3 marks at stake here. And here's a song from David.
Window up it down. C version. Hector. And some of names of these. There's none that can compare.
To the right, to the right, to the right, to the right.
The British Grenadiers.
You must have been in the Pioneer Corps.
If you give me less than 3 marks, you insult our audience.
All right.
Diary.
3 out of 3. Superb singing from David. Here's a song from Dennis.
Well, the audience starts soon.
Ain't been blue
2, 3, 4
till you heard that mood indigo, that feeling.
This is where he changes key.
Nobody gets interrupted the way.
down to my shoes.
He has.
While I sit and sigh, go along, blue.
Don't, I'm in a cold sweat.
Aren't we all? 3 marks.
People, I keep working out this way. People pay. What do you pay? What's the license fee now? £6, is it? Well, if you work it out, £6 a year, that works out £1 for every 2 months. I sing for maybe 30 seconds. It can't cost people less than a 50th of a farthing. So, you know, what really can they complain about?
And what they don't know, if I may say so, Dennis, listeners at home, is that you are the only singer on the air who actually inhales from a cigarette while he's vocalizing.
I do it while Ian's singing. You can't see my lips move.
Well, here's the proof as we watch him. Ian sings his song.
If you're no a Gordon, you're no use to me. The black watch is braw, the sea for sand all, but a cheeky wee Gordon's the pride of them all.
Well done, sir. Yes, thank you.
That's the type of accent. It always makes me think of that line of Evelyn Waugh's where he talked about the monosyllabic protuberances of the Scottish Highlands. You know, egg and hook.
Never mind. Frank Muir will now sing us his military number.
What the blankety blank, the sergeant cries. Do you think you're in? It's not the boys. Brigade! Guards are on parade, and the band is being played. All their bayonets are flashing,
yes,
and the sergeant's teeth are gnashing. The guards are on parade.
There it is. That's the end, I'm sorry to say, of another My Music. A victory for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden. Goodbye.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier. The BBC presents My Music. a musical panel game devised by Edward J. Mason and Tony Schreier. And here's Steve Race to introduce the teams.
Surging out of the untamed West, My Music, with a cast of thousands, or 5 anyway. Battle of wits in every sense, with David Franklin, partnered by Frank Muir, and Ian Wallace, assisted by Denis Norden. Question, who wrote it and what's it called? A mark for the name of the composition and a mark for the composer. We begin with David Franklin.
German?
German.
Wagner.
Wagner.
It's one of the preludes.
Yes.
R, it
yes,
begins with
yes.
Rienzi.
Rienzi
well
for
done.
the mark. Well done. Title and composer again, this time, Denis Norden.
I was going to ask if in future programs I could simply have a bye into the second round. But this is a dance of some kind.
Yes, it is.
And it's Czechoslovakian or something. Is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not Czech, no.
Actually, you got our order wrong when you announced the program. It's not Ian Wallace, assisted by Denis Norden. It's Denis Norden, assisted by Ian Wallace. And it's called La Danza by Rossini, and it's in red ink.
Well, it is now. We know it really as Tarantella from La Boutique Fantasque, which was Respighi's arrangement of music by Rossini. Orchestral version Tarantella, yes. Oh, you get your 2 marks all the same. Ian, your turn. I can tell you it's the 4th of its kind.
It sounds as if it might be a symphony.
Yes, there you've got a mark for that.
Yes. German?
Yes.
Beethoven?
No.
No, I didn't think it was, you know.
Who else
he's a German. And
who else didn't you think?
I didn't really think it might be Schubert. But...
Oh, you're right again.
Yes.
You keep picking up marks.
That's 3 marks.
Well, it's not Wagner, obviously.
No.
I
doubt if you even know what a Brahms is.
Oh, yes, I do. I often get a Brahms in here and there if I can. Brahms, yes.
1 mark it is for Ian Wallace out of 2. Frank, what's this and who wrote it? Great huddles going on over that side.
The title is on the tip of my toe. It's something dancers, isn't it?
No, actually. You're thinking of Polovtsian. It's not from them.
I wasn't, as a matter of fact.
I'm sorry, I'm aligned.
Thank you. It's so flattering. I didn't think that I was thinking of that.
Try Mussorgsky.
Yeah.
Mussorgsky.
Yes, Mussorgsky is right. Gopak, or as we say where I come from, Hopak, from Sorojinsky Fair.
You're from Mongolia.
I come from Lincoln, actually.
I thought the eyes were just tired.
You get 1 mark out of 2 as well, I think. General questions now about the music repertoire. David, where would you find an African and a prophet?
An African and a prophet. In an opera by Meyerbeer.
Exactly. 2 out of 2. Dennis, where together, this is the important word, where together would you find Eric, Jack and Ginger?
You would find them in a group called The Cream. You no longer find them there, but you used to find them.
Would you have found?
You would have found Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker.
Yes, that's right, you would have found them. Ian, where would you find Mirabella, Chipra and Safi?
Strauss?
Yep. But the name of the operetta, please.
Yes, well, it's obviously not Die Fledermaus. I don't recognise anybody.
The title role is missing from those names, or would appear to be. Distinguished gentleman.
Which?
A distinguished gentleman of Romany origins.
Of Romany origins? Yes. The Gypsy Baron?
Ah, yes. How many marks out of 2 do you want for that?
3.
1 it is.
Thank you.
Frank, what did Richter do on the staircase for Liszt's daughter?
He said, let's make a little list. I'm not really, I know...
Do you know who Liszt's daughter married? Yes, help him, David.
Wagner, of course.
So we've got Mrs. Wagner.
In time, and...
we got as far as Mrs. Wagner and Richter on the staircase. I think you can piece together the rest.
Oh, he conducted Siegfried's Idyll.
No, he played the trumpet part, actually.
He conducted the Siegfried Idyll. Yes. I don't want to...
He played the trumpet for his friend Wagner in the first performance on the stairs outside Cosima Wagner's bedroom of the Siegfried Idyll. A very charming gesture. 2 marks there, ultimately. Some singing now, not from you, not yet, but from singers whom I think you'll recognise, or hope anyway, for a mark, the name of the singer, another mark, the name of the song. David. Song and singer.
Well, the song is Handel's Where Are You Walk.
That's a mark anyway, yes. Singer.
Can I have several stabs?
No, I'd like to see if the audience knows after you've had a shot.
John Coates?
No, not John Coates.
Gervais Elvis?
You got it. Did anybody in the audience recognise the voice of Gervais Elvis?
Stupid lot.
I know his granddaughter. You probably do too.
Yes.
Holly. Gervais Elvis, 1 mark. Where Are You Walk, 1 mark. Total 2. Fair enough. Dennis, who, and again, the song, please.
Now the fiddler's ready, let the song begin. So step it out and step it into the very music of the violin. We'll dance the hours away.
Well, that's either a choir or a marvellous multi-track recording.
It's a choir. And since we wouldn't ask you for the St Mirren Reserves, then which choir is it?
You mean it's a Scottish choir?
Yes, yes.
It's not that no, it can't be the Police, that lot, the Fuzz Fantasy, whatever, the Glasgow Police Choir.
Not unless they played it at the wrong speed.
Well, they might have backed it up with traffic wardens, shoved in a few. Is it the Orpheus?
Yes, who else do you know, anyway? It's got to be the Orpheus.
Very fine police choir.
Which city?
Glasgow.
Glasgow Orpheus Choir, yes, you've got that much. What was the song called?
Step it, something. It was like the thing that Denny Willis does, the fox hunting.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think Ian's writing it down for you.
But I'm not sure that I'm right, actually.
Dorothy White.
Yes, he's got it.
Dorothy White. Can't read the next word.
Sergeant Dorothy White.
Sergeant Dorothy, dashing white sergeant. Sorry, it's like Dorothy White. Yeah.
All right, 2 out of 2, I suppose. Ian, don't write it, say it. It's your turn now. Who and what are they singing?
Well, they're singing the love duet at the end of the first act of Puccini's opera Madame Butterfly.
That's for a mark anyway, yes.
Singers have got me a bit puzzled here, because they're both singing together in unison. You can't separate one from the other.
No, quite.
One was a fella.
Yeah, I would go along with that. English or...
Well, let's say British.
British. I would have thought that the soprano was Joan Hammond.
Which is why I said British, you're right, yes. And the male... the same initials, the same two initials. Like, for instance, JJ or DD or CC or BB.
Charles Craig.
Thank you, yes. I did accept David's second guess, so I accept that from you for 2 marks. Frank, for you, a rather surprising bit, I think, of ethnic confusion.
Thanks.
My noble defenders were gallant and brave, for freedom their hearts' life they gave.
Is it Robeson?
Yes.
Singing at an
Paul
unaccustomably high pitch.
Well, that's not what's so surprising, I would have thought.
Well,
it was in younger days. Voices do drop with age, you know.
So he's also singing a Scottish air of some sort. What? When I say Scottish, come down and move over to the left.
Yes, that's right.
It's a Welsh lay.
It's land of my fathers that Paul Robeson was singing. Yeah. Oh, dear. The trouble in the ballad is tonight, anyway. So that's 1 out of 2, then. But I fear. Let's have a look at the score. Leading, despite that terrible lapse, by 1 mark at the moment, David Franklin and Frank Muir. Listening to this series, you may have noticed how much better the teams have become at answering musical questions. They're certainly very good at identifying tunes, and we're going to see how they get on with just the first 3 notes of a famous theme. 1 mark for the title. David, here are your 3 notes.
Dvorak's New World Symphony.
Yes, exactly. And cue the slow second movement there. The song version Going Home. And we played it there, of course, in the orchestral version with the cor anglais. There's your mark, yes. Dennis, what's this?
The Dance of the Sugar Plum thing, is it? Yes, Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy.
How lovely to have you answer.
I know, yes.
There wasn't... Either you and Ian have learnt shorthand, or else you answered that line.
He knows it all. It's just that, sometimes he can't be bothered to get it.
I was in overdrive there for a moment.
Let's see how you are, Ian. Here's yours.
Overture to the Meistersingers.
Yes.
Wagner.
Thank you. Yes, there's a mark. And Frank's 3 notes.
Prelude. Oh, yes, Chopin's Prelude.
Give or take 1,000 years, yes? What? No, Prelude.
Rachmaninoff.
Yes. Well, all right. Second
C-sharp minor. C-sharp minor from
second thoughts allowed there for a mark.
C-sharp minor.
Musical terms and expressions, technicalities, and all that. David Franklin, what would you say was a perfect interval?
About now.
A perfect interval is one that's neither diminished nor augmented.
Yes, it's sort of good enough, really, yes. Or, for that matter, major or minor. It is, in fact, the interval, the difference in pitch, of a fourth, a fifth, or an octave. And although musical purists will write me many letters, I'm going to give you 2 out of 2 for that, because it was near enough. Dennis, what is a slur?
A slur is when I get the answer to a classical music question without a pause, and you immediately say, I see Ian has learnt to write shorthand.
As we say in France, touch.
Somebody once told me about that a woman had something said to her, and she said, touche. And the friend said, that's pronounced touche. He said, I'm sorry, you think me so gaucher. A slur is that, isn't it that kind of sliding? When Sinatra used to end this, I didn't sleep a wink last night. That's a good bit of singing, isn't it?
That's our old friend Portamento.
Is it a trumpet?
I think I must give you can slur your notes in a song, really, or on the trumpet. Actually, a slur in technical terms is a curved line placed over a group of notes to indicate that they're to be played smoothly. Anyway, you get 2, Dennis, why not? Ian, what is a relative minor?
A pony's ankle.
In the good old days of music hall, you got a round of applause for that.
Or...
Yes, or...
it is rather difficult to explain this.
It is, actually. It's terribly difficult to explain.
Going to the major... if the major has a key signature of, say, F sharp, the relative minor key will also have an F sharp, but it's not the relative minor to C major is not C minor. It's the third below.
C major becomes A minor.
Yes.
The relative minor of A. Of
the
C
key,
major is A minor.
the key signature is the same.
Yes, that's right, exactly. 2 marks. Yes.
Thank you,
Frank. How would you define breathe?
Breathe.
Breathe.
I would define it at length and very badly. It's sort of how long a note goes on.
Ah, yes. I think...
it reminds me that when I decided to teach myself to play the clarinet some years ago, I bought a book about music to learn about it. And it was a rather thin book, actually, and I read it quite quickly, and I didn't learn about music. I learned something about it, and one is that you don't get many breathes. There aren't many of them about. But they're usually semi-breathes. So if you ask me to define a breathe, I would say it's 2 semi-breathes put together.
I'm
not really quite sure what a semi-breathe is, but that's why I said that this isn't really a complete answer to the question, but a very long and diffuse one.
You're absolutely right. This round will be over in a trice. Some martial music. Just the name of the march for 1 mark. David.
The Washington Star, because the fleet's in port again.
Post.
Rag. No, it's the French march by Louis Gann. You don't know.
Le Washington Post.
It's a good try, but just not quite right. It's Marche Lorraine. So no marks out of 1. Denis Norden.
Yes, they do it.
That's the idea they rejected when they were writing Puppet on a String.
They do it in ballroom dancing, don't they?
It always reminds me of the way Max Wall used to walk round the stage.
Or Nat Jackley. Yes. I don't know what it's called, Steve. It's pretty
The audience knows. What's he called?
March of the Mods.
Thank you. March of the Mods. Yeah. Yes, that's right. No marks for Dennis either. Ian, what's this march called?
Liberty Bell.
That's a good guess, and it's wrong.
It was Dennis's good guess. Well, it's Stars and...
No. No marks, I'm afraid, and it's called Old Comrades. Frank, what's this march called?
Liberty Bell. March in the Rain. Washington Post.
Liberty Bodice.
You're cracking.
Sheepskin Liberty Bodice, yes. Now, I'm happy to say you've all got no marks for this round. I think I'm sure it's nil all round. It was the Radetzky March. The final round brings, as always, some singing. 3 marks for carrying on successfully with the correct words when the music stops. David Franklin, your song.
I want to make a personal statement.
On the grounds that it may incriminate you.
I haven't the faintest idea.
Does anybody in the audience know what it is? The Bay of Biscay. I'm afraid it's none as we move on to Dennis for his song.
Kisses in the morning. Oh, Nicholas, don't be so ridiculous. And I don't like it in the daytime.
2 out of 3?
I'm
trying to
take an 8.
Yeah. 2 out of 3, I think there. Ian Wallace, your song.
I have seen the dewdrop clinging to the rose but newly born, but a sweeter song hath charmed me than the evening's gentle close, and I've seen a sight far sweeter than the dewdrop on the rose. 'Twas thy voice, my gentle Mary, and thine artless winning smile that has made this world an Eden.
Oh, nice.
Holy Mary, oh.
Now the trill.
I obviously can't give you any marks for that. Yes.
Well, I happened to ken it.
You did indeed. 3 out of 3 for Ian and Bonnie Mary of Argyle. Frank, your song.
Where have you been all the day, my Billy boy? I've been walking all the day. Wendy, oh my charming.
There it is. That's the end, I'm sorry to say, of another My Music. A victory for Ian Wallace and Denis Norden.
Taking part in My Music were David Franklin, Frank Muir, Denis Norden, and Ian Wallace. The chairman was Steve Race. The questions were compiled by Edward J. Mason, and the program was produced in London by Tony Schreier.